I'm trying to be like cool and calm and composed and a professional about it and get my experience in. But then I'm also like just in that rush of like, can I take it? Can I take a punch? Can I hit someone? Can I knock someone out? I'm
So
already,
you're
I
trying
already
to be
jumped off.
patient,
Yeah, I'm like,
Come
I'm
on,
saying like,
dude.
Oh, so Reynoso, no, so that's a sick name,
Bro,
man.
I appreciate that.
Went from watching in the stands and watching guys like you and the guys that were like from a generation before me.
Whenever I do fight again, I need Christian Reynoso there on commentary. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Reynoso Noso. Christian here, and we have our first episode of 2026, and we are coming at you with a bang. Joining me today, I have multiple-time BJJ world champion, UFC Jiu-Jitsu athlete, undefeated MMA fighter, and just days away from stepping back in the cage at Tough Enough 151 live on UFC Fight Pass. Please welcome the commander-in-chief of hybrid jiu-jitsu, none other than Professor Renato Canuto. Professor, thank you so much for joining me, sir.
thanks so much for having me. It's a big pleasure to be here, man. Appreciate you taking the time of your day too, for us to talk.
No, no, don't
Appreciate
be
you, brother.
silly, brother. This is a huge honor for me. Like I told you before we jumped on, I'm a longtime fan of your jujitsu. A lot of stuff in memory lane that I want to go down, but let's go one thing at a time. Like I said,
Let's do it.
you're days away from stepping back in the cage to take on who I'm going to say is your most experienced opponent
Yes,
to
sir.
date in Luciano Ramos. So let's talk
Yes,
about it a little
sir.
bit.
Yeah, I'm excited. MMA in general right now is just a very exciting time for me, since it is a newer experience still. It is my third time now going back, and I did go straight pro, so um, that there is also that. So there's not a whole lot of time to kill. I never know when things are going to change. Everything can happen honestly a lot faster than I even hoped for. So, or not, so I'm just trying to make sure I stay active and I get my experience. And hopefully, towards the end of this year, we already can be either in the UFC or something like that. But again, I just really enjoy the moment right now, the present moment that I'm in. I feel really good coming in with all the jiu-jitsu experience I've had with competition in general, and being able to like learn more about myself and things that I can do better. And I think it's going to translate. It's been translating pretty well towards MMA this far.
So you touched on it already. Like you had to go right pro immediately. There were no amateur bouts for you, real no warm-ups as far
Yeah.
as your MMA career goes. I know that comes with the territory when you have the accolades that you do, when you come with the big
hmm
name as you did into MMA. With that being said, are you kind of just, like I said, you're fighting a guy with 25 fights already in this your third
hmm
fight. Are you just
hmm
having to stay flexible for whoever comes your way and is willing to sign the dotted line?
It kind of yes. Right now it's been a little bit of a hustle to get someone to actually stay in the fight. I had like few fights get canceled. There's always like extra options out there because I guess from ever since I started trying to fight, I tried to fight with Tough Enough even in like April 2024, and that fight got canceled the week off. So like I feel like ever since that happened, I kind of like took myself back towards jiu-jitsu competition, not because I wanted to, but because I kind of had the opportunity to do that for the time being. I was stuck in a contract for a while with one championship. So in general, right now I'm just like, dude, I just want to fight. I took 2 years off that I did not want to take, and I've been training for MMA now for almost 4 years, honestly. So I'm not necessarily, actually, almost 5 years now. So yeah, I'm not necessarily like brand new at it. I've been training a lot. I've been sparring year round, and I've been getting my experience at the gym. Um, it's just been hard to really get guys to stay in the fight. So yeah, we think this next guy especially, it wasn't really like ideal. And for me, it's not necessarily like, oh my God, the guy has so many fights. It was more like I want someone that actually maybe the UFC already has eyes on it. And then again, I'm gonna be rushing because I want to prove myself. I want to go and test myself. But my manager and the matchmaker Gokor, they're both looking out on that side. And from where I understand, there's not a whole lot of guys, making big jumps and being like, "Hey, I'm excited. I want to fight that guy." Especially because I'm still a beginner in MMA. It doesn't look great for them if they lose, and if they win, it's still like I guess I would be a big name, but it's like I guess the risk, the give or take chances, they don't really like that. That's what I'm guessing. So yeah, that's the guy I'm fighting right now. I'm excited about it. I think he's a scrappy guy, and it's gonna be a good fight.
I was gonna ask you something because you're the jujitsu guy, right? The
Yes, sir.
jujitsu guy. But your two fights in your MMA career, I think you spent a total of a minute 38 inside the cage. You've thrown more soccer kicks than you have submission attempts. So, like, I was gonna ask, like,
Yes, sir.
what exactly is lending itself to creating this style? But
Yeah,
I'm wondering if you just answered it. Is it just that you've been so anxious to get out there that we're
yeah.
just seeing it explode every time the cage door shuts?
Yeah, yeah, he actually is. I'm trying to be like cool and calm and composed and a professional about it and get my experience in. But then I'm also like just in that rush of like, can I take it? Can I take a punch? Can I hit someone? Can I knock someone out?
And
I'm
so
already,
you're
I
trying
already
to be
jumped.
patient,
Yeah, I'm like,
Come
no,
on,
I'm saying like,
dude.
in my head, I'm like, I should be patient, right? Like I should be technical and calm and learn how to do to step in there and get my distance first. But no, like the last two fights just being a menace of like going straight for the kill. But again, yeah, it's just been tough. I'm like, dude, I finally got to fight. I trained so much for this, and I just get there and I have too much fun, and I end up like JP put, I end up busting too early.
It happens, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't. I've heard.
yeah,
Anyways, but
yeah.
bro, like in all seriousness, like, I said I was like a fan of your jujitsu, and when I heard you were making your debut in Tough Enough at the beginning of 2025, I was like, all right, dope. I'm excited to see this jujitsu, and like I said, you go out there and you're showing us so much more. Do you feel? Is it like you're evolving, on the job, or do you feel like stepping in the MMA cage, you're able to express yourself in a way that you weren't able to do so in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I think both. I'm really enjoying this moment. It's something I've been waiting to do for nearly my whole life. I grew up watching fights and watching my dad compete, and then I became the one that started training and then competing. But we've been watching like Pride and UFC ever since I'm a little child.
Mm,
Before I probably should be watching things like that. So it's been like in my head, erupted into who I am. Like, oh, I really want to do this. This is what I really want to do. And jiu-jitsu just became bigger and bigger, as time went, as I was chasing that world title, and it took me until a brown belt to finally win one. And then after that, I was like, you know what? So if I have this kind of potential, I gotta win as a black belt. So all that just kept pushing me away from MMA. But I've been around for so long. I married Raquel, and Raquel was still fighting, so I was always like, excited doing a little bit of the beginning and then
yeah.
stop. I do the beginning, and competitions become jiu-jitsu season starts again, and I slow down. So I'm like, dude, I just wanted to do it for so long, but it was like almost like becoming like faint in my head, where I was like, you know what? I'm probably just gonna stick with jiu-jitsu at this point, until jiu-jitsu started becoming kind of like a burden on some things, and I was like, I'm not really having that much fun as I used to. It's becoming, more stressful than anything, and I'm worrying about the scene and the competitions and the rule sets, and I was like, I just like to fight, and then I started
Mm,
training MMA really by accident, by trying to go and wrestle with the guys, and end up getting there in a day that they were doing Shark Tanks instead. And I was like, this is kind of fun. And then
yeah.
stuck around and started shifting my mind towards that side. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do that. I think I wanna give it a shot.
Brother, not to go too off topic because I want to get back to
Yeah,
talking
sorry.
about the fight. No, no, I'm about to go off topic
Yeah,
because I think you're gonna have some. You might be a guy to give me some insight.
sorry.
You talked about getting a little tired of jujitsu, and I've heard you talk about it in other interviews as well. So let's go
Yeah,
into it a little bit because I think the timing of that's interesting. So
yeah,
in the last few years, jujitsu has really blown up and
yeah.
provided opportunities for athletes like yourself to
It's good.
suddenly, get exposure, a little bit of fame, more importantly, make a living. But it's almost like the timing of that is in line with around the same time that you're saying, man, I got a little bit tired and fed up with jujitsu, or maybe 50. So,
Yeah,
so let's talk about that a little bit more
yeah,
if you don't mind.
yeah. If UFC Fight Pass Invitationals, the before the UFC BJJ, if that came around, I want to say about 2 years before he did, I would have probably stuck around jiu-jitsu, I probably would have like be like, oh, okay, cool. This is a place where I can come and unleash and and have fun. I actually like competing because that was really what I always enjoy doing is super fights. I think uh I'm an entertainer, naturally an entertainer. So even though I was chasing the world title dream, which is like it just takes a lot to win actual world championships. We've seen the IBJJF rule sets. You gotta be so specific, and you can't really make a mistake, and you can't lose by any little small margin of a difference. And people stall you out, and that was always like what I, battled with. It was the idea of like wanting to go super hard, but also wanting to win and having to prove myself. And I'm like, oh, I'm not the best yet. Why I don't win? And I get gold. So you keep putting this thing in your head, and I was like, you know what? I finally competed, I think, at Third Coast Grappling at 185. I ended up facing four guys. One of them was like Jake Shoots in the mix of that. I hit a flying armbar on Jake Shoots, which was pretty cool too. But like, as excited as I was about that performance, that was like 2 months before the last Worlds that I did as a black belt. That was in 2021, end of 2021. I won that, and then I never got paid the full amount. I kind of got scammed. So then I was like, shoots, I got paid less than half. And I was like, man, I'm just tired of this. It's like I was supposed to get paid 10K, I got paid like four and a half. And then I was like, I'm just tired of putting this much effort and putting my whole life in it while I'm already coaching. Then I was already coaching for a few years too. And I'm like doing all of this and giving so much to the sport. And I'm like, and I'm hoping that maybe flow grappling will look my way and be like, shine some light on me and I'm going to become a thing. I was like, I'm not really like, happy with how things are going. And like I said, that's when I started training MMA. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do one more Worlds. I'm gonna give it one more shot because I already had got second and third. And I was like, I'll give it one more shot. If it happens, happens. But I'm going towards MMA. Then I won, thankfully. But then I was like, I had to stick with my word,
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's it, cool. I'm
And,
done here. I'm gonna go towards MMA.
and that's probably around the same time as like the whole one fighting championship fiasco happened, right? Like that was
Then I
2022-ish, right? Or 2021-ish around the
Yeah,
same
then it
time.
was like mid 2022. I'm like took 6 months out. I'm just training for MMA. I'm trying to decide what I'm gonna do. I'm supposed to wait a whole year until I'm like, okay, now I fight. Right? I was like, I'm gonna give myself time. I do not want to be a guy that go there fresh off of your only jujitsu. I was like, I want to take this thing serious. I want to really get good at it. So within that time frame, I got reached out from one championship and they were starting a grappling thing. And I told them I wanted to fight MMA, and they sounded super excited. Everything sounded awesome. And once I was in contract with them, the things didn't go the way I thought it was going to. I was supposed to fight one guy first, and then within like I want to say 2 weeks before, they that guy pulled out, and then they threw me Tommy Langaker, which was like he's been like just in general just a freaking as we like he's just been a rock on my shoe, as we would say, I guess in in Brazil. He's been like,
Yeah.
the annoying guy on my way. Like I have good battles with him, but he's just stronger than me. He's like pretty thick, He's like a division above. So we can meet on the day before win type of thing. But I always like end up making one mistake and he will hold me down or he will get me and then stay there and I'm like, fuck. So anyway, I lost to Tommy and I was like, dude, whatever, let me just get back in there and get another shot. And that never came, and then I waited for 2 years and they finally was going to put me to fight. And then it was probably like 2 weeks before the fight. They never announced anything. They never said anything. They was like, I was like, that's not why I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing this to really get my name out there. Like I'm doing this not for the money, not for I wanna really like prove myself as a fighter. So like if it's gonna be like this, like you know what? Contract is already over anyway. You guys finally gonna put me to fight. I was like, cannot. My bad. And anyway, that was a whole drama in there that like I hate that phase of that, that happened, but it was really good for me because it made me so hungry. It made me go back to jiu-jitsu in a way that I was like competing out of so much more freedom. But again, that was also me not being like the last performances has been getting better, but I also took it out of my mind. I was supposed to be doing only MMA for this long, but you just kind of sucked me back in. I always wanted to do no gi still, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's tough because, like you said, like you're hard to set on MMA, but you're a big name. You have an
Yeah,
exciting style, and with
yeah,
jujitsu opportunities popping up, I'd imagine your phone's going to be ringing.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah.
Yeah, I did. But I'll tell you this, like I'm looking for and I'm waiting for your first fight that goes past a minute so that we can so that I can see some of that like
Yeah,
unique stylings of yours.
true.
Like I'm when
Yeah.
are we gonna see the like the Canuto wheel in an MMA fight? Or like when are we gonna see
Yeah.
you like pinch a guy's nose while you're ground and pounding him? Like bro, like I know it's coming, bro.
Yeah, add
I'm
that
excited for
grappling
that.
on it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am too. I am too. I think this guy's gonna be very game. He's pretty tough and durable from what I watched. He's definitely a journeyman, I would say. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but he's tough. He's tough. He's like Nick Diaz camp type of guy, and hands up and what's up? Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
throw it
yeah.
down. And I'm not going to back away from that. I'm going to try and stand and bang with him for as long as it's going good for me. And then, I can
Yeah.
always rely on jiu-jitsu, wrestling, or a flying submission. That's really what I've been thinking about. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get him. However, if I don't put him out on the strike, and I think I'm going to try and hit a flying submission this time. Just because I need to unlock these things on my head. Like, oh, okay, this is possible. This is a possibility. I already got two TKOs where I'm just going full aggression. I think now
Yeah.
I'm going to start trying to be a little bit more, picky with my shots and finding my rhythm in there and what I want to do, like what comes up. So for now, and then probably next fight or so, hopefully I get a guy that will make me have to play a game all the time. That's what I'm hoping for.
Bro, I just know this is gonna be a dope clip when I can cut out you saying I'm gonna hit a flying submission and I can splice in, him being
Yes,
like,
sir.
stock, and you like flying
Let's
armbar. I'm
go.
like, it's gonna
Fop.
be dope. Yeah, exactly. He's
Thanks,
flicking you
brother.
off and
Thanks,
then
brother.
bang, there it goes.
Yeah, I do
Um,
good.
bro, it's so cool, man. Well, I've seen in the build up for this fight, you've been training with like I know you're at the UFC PI, which is just amazing, brother. Like I'm sure you've got the world at your disposal, but you've also got like top tier talent. I saw you training with like Cody Garbrandt, Aljamain Sterling, former world champions. So, what are some things that these guys are able to impart on your journey in your current stage right now?
Man, as far as like, okay, so Cody has helped me on the boxing side and in general, just training with him, wrestling. We were doing a lot of like jujitsu and wrestling mostly together, but he helped me also with like my boxing and my jabs and things like that. They're just like so ahead of my of where I'm at right now. Like I can still learn and soak up so much from them. With Aljamain, which is who I've been training more often now than before even. It's just incredible to watch, like even from the side or even be training with him, like how good he is on staying on the back. He's just so good at finding the back and staying and not losing. And he understands like the things that you gotta kind of figure out like within time, right? Like thankfully I have a high level of understanding of jiu-jitsu. I'm like, okay, it's really easy to slide off the back. So he will abandon the back before he's sliding off, so he stay on top. So he's always on the right place. He's a great guy. If you're a jiu-jitsu guy trying to come into MMA, watch Aljamain. He's gonna have all the little cheat codes for what you need to do so you're not in trouble and messing up your jujitsu and trying too hard and end up on bottom and stuck and looking bad. He does a lot of things right. So I've been learning a lot, been enjoying training him a lot. Great guy overall too.
Yeah, and I'd imagine also for like, I mean, aside from the stuff in the cage or on the mat, obviously these are the people you need to talk to prepare you for like everything, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole shift of being, not that you aren't a star already, brother. We all know who Renato
Thanks,
Canuto
brother.
is.
Thanks, brother.
No, for
Thanks, brother.
sure. But
Coming.
it's another like it's a shift to another kind of stratosphere of the MMA
Yeah,
world.
of course.
Um,
Of course.
but with that being said, do you feel like that old school responsibility of going into MMA carrying that jujitsu flag, I know you're well rounded. I've seen it. I
Hmm.
saw you on Tough Enough Cage.
Yeah,
But do
yeah.
you feel that responsibility at all?
What 100%, like I do put on myself as like, I can go there and act a fool and look bad. Okay, this like I said, the last two times it was just like the I gotta strike. I have to let hands go. I train MMA too much like I train jiu-jitsu. It's like I'm training my students and I'm trying to flow and move and not just go for broke and kill someone. Especially now I've been doing for like quite a while, so I'm not always going for the kill, especially in training. I'm not sparring like crazy trying, to knock people out. But because I hadn't fought yet, in my head I was like, I need to let that go and see like, do I have power? Can I, can my hands do damage? Okay, cool. That's there. That's checked out. but right now, I know that I have a big commitment going into this, knowing that I have to defend jiu-jitsu because there's so many people that have come and gone and tried and did okay and did good. Charles Oliveira did it great, but he went on so worthy that he's really an MMA guy. At that point, his roots are deep rooted into jiu-jitsu, and he became a striker in the UFC already, which is awesome. Which I hope it happens to me too. Like I grow better and better with my striking already in the UFC, and then go getting better. But he had so much time to do it too. I probably never gonna be Charles Oliveira's submission record, honestly, and I don't even like will try to probably unless I'm fighting like 5 times a year. I just don't have that kind of time on my side. I'm 29 already, but I think that you know uh, I have great potential to go there and take back to where it started, which was UFC one. And Royce Gracie comes in and shows everybody what this is about and which fight's more dominant, which it really was. I mean, I love striking. I love striking, but if you want to know striking, I know just that was the proof in there. We tested that out. We all come in raw with what we got. Jiu-Jitsu wins. Now everybody adapted. Wrestlers, have become more and more smart about dealing with jiu-jitsu guys as well. I feel like wrestling took over now in the last few years or so. Striking is kind of going back to rise right now to a lot of good strikers who are holding the titles. But we had Pantoja right now before he got hurt. Pantoja, I also feel like he's a great jiu-jitsu guy, defending the side. Charles Oliveira. I think I can be the next big thing. I think the odds now where I'm at, free from any contract and waiting to get picked up by the UFC, hopefully. Um, that's really what I want to do. I want to show that jiu-jitsu is still most dominant, and we are the best to get the job done, to finish people. That's my goal.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned not necessarily being crazy about staying in the jiu-jitsu circuit right now, but
Mhm.
with you being one of the faces of UFC BJJ and ideally eyeballing the UFC for your next step
Mhm.
in MMA, further on down the line, um, do you foresee yourself maybe being that crossover athlete as well that is doing, bearing the torch for jiu-jitsu in MMA and then at UFC BJJ bearing the torch for the UFC MMA guys? I mean, is that something that appeals to you?
For me, as long as they allow me, I'm going to stay. I want to still do jujitsu, and here's the reason why. Uh, he's gonna get to a certain point that hopefully things are going really well for me, and I'm making a great living from MMA. That would be awesome. Until that happens, still gonna take some time. Jiu-jitsu right now is paying the bills like never before. Way better deal, honestly. I'm really just going for MMA right now to really prove myself and with trying to break into the UFC scene, but on the MMA side. Now, as long as they allow me to do UFC BJJ, I want to be there. I want to still need to win that title. I feel like I kind of I didn't get rushed in because I asked for the title, but I
Yeah.
did rush in from my last MMA fight, which was end of May to beginning of July, fighting someone like Andrew. Which before I had my eyes locked on Andrew for so long, of being like, okay, I'm training to compete against Mika, Andrew, and Cade probably. These are the guys that right
Right.
now are running the scene around. I need to be ready to fight these guys. So I was just lifting weights, getting big, doing all that, and then I cut to 160, but I tried to make as close to 55 as I could both times, so I kind of get used to it. I just don't feel like I was like full enough for
Hmm.
that push pull kind of
Hmm.
situation. Like I feel like he got me technically speaking. Honestly, he's really good at jiu-jitsu. Great guy. I love Andrew being the champion too. He's a great representation of jiu-jitsu, more than anybody really. But I need another shot, I need to hit that again and try it out. And I think 170 would be it. If I stay too active in MMA, maybe I'll go down to 55. There's a lot of options on that side. But I guess right now I'm trying to get as many MMA fights as I can within the beginning of the year. So hopefully I make it to contender series, or hopefully they will pick me up and put me in the prelims, or
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the MMA side right now. And they gave me full, the UFC BJJ gave me full space to that and said, "Hey man, look, we want you to make it in MMA too. We know that that's where it's at for you. Honestly, you're gonna do great in there, and we want to see you do it." Um, and hopefully I'll be able to change their mind because this far they don't want UFC guys fighting on UFC BJJ. I feel like they had few guys from MMA crossover to fight jiu-jitsu, and then they look bad, and now they have this idea of like, oh, MMA guys can hang. They can, but certain guys and certain opponents, I feel like they have to put like a little matchmaker, jiu-jitsu matchmaker, like in the middle of this of like, okay, who is it that this guy can fight, Because if you put them against the highest level of jiu-jitsu, and you're like a full-time MMA fighter, even though you're tough on the ground, you're probably not gonna be able to hang. But we've seen guys like Arman Sarukian. I'm sure Islam would do great. There's a lot of guys that we all want to see grappling alone, to see who's best. And I think that will come with time too. Maybe when they slow down MMA, maybe they want to do jiu-jitsu match. Who knows? But right now, that's kind of their eyes are at. It's like not good for marketing. We put them
Yeah,
into jiu-jitsu for a little bit of money, and they go there and they get smashed. Come on, like they're making our champions look bad. So
right.
similar to like an UFC guy going to boxing, is the I guess that's how they're looking at it. They're like, nah, you have a contract here. You do this, focus on MMA. But I hope for me it will be a different case because I am already doing this. But
You are a different case though, brother. Like you talked about, there are a lot of guys that have tried to do both and kind of struggled
yeah,
with it. But you're a very unique situation where I think it's feasible, like you could totally thrive in both. And I suppose there's always the risk as well. Maybe the
yes, of
UFC worries about people getting
course.
injured and stuff like that, doing
Yeah,
one or the other.
yeah,
But
yeah.
bro, if anyone's gonna do it, I feel like you could be the man.
I
Um,
think so too, man. I hope so.
Yeah, UFC BJJ, and I'm gonna go back to MMA, but real quick, UFC BJJ is so unique in what they're doing for BJJ athletes as a whole. I love, I mean, obviously as a fan, watching the production level climb and see these opportunities for you guys is amazing. But to hear that they're willing to tell one of their athletes like yourself, one of their stars like yourself, like,
Yeah.
hey, we know your goal maybe not this, and we're on board with you doing that. I think that speaks volumes about UFC BJJ, everything like Claudia Gadelha, Stephen Tecci, everything they're doing over there is really unbelievable.
Yeah, they're really awesome, honestly. Really, really awesome. They got us full access to the UFC Performance Institute, which I live there. I was already living there just to train with Cody them and help the UFC guys on their camps. And I ended up starting to train because of Cody. I started training with Mateus Nakashi, and love his style, love the guy. Uh, that's my main MMA coach, and that's the guy that I work with. But he also coaches out of there pretty much from Monday to Friday. So I'm there every day, and I'm always I'm here to train with this guy, and they're like they see me every day, and every day the same thing. Okay, who
Yeah.
you here with? Who are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm here training with this guy, and then now I'm like, okay, I'm here for myself, and
Yeah.
I'm bringing some guys with me.
It's all good,
So, so
man. I
it's
love
cool,
it.
Now I'm like a UFC BJJ guy, and they gave me that. Like you can come in as an athlete. You can use all of this. You get lunch money. You get breakfast money. You get physical therapy, nutrition. So I already get that UFC treatment on the UFC Performance Institute where I can use, and I probably soak more than most of the UFC fighters themselves. Me and the guys that train with me, honestly, because we have a few UFC guys there that we pretty much live there. We use all of it and we do everything to the highest level possible that they help us and they offer. So I really believe things are gonna work out well in MMA because of all of that. I'm already like around the best and doing the best I can all the time.
And I remember pretty recent, I think it's pretty recently watching a UFC and then them putting the camera on you and Raquel in the audience talking about, UFC
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
BJJ stars. So brother, you're in the
Yeah.
stratosphere. You're clearly there.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
and staying on the topic of jujitsu and gyms and that whole landscape, I know yourself, like obviously yourself and your wife Raquel, both stars in jujitsu and in the combat sports world. And I know you guys are building something really special at Hybrid Jiu-Jitsu. So let's talk about that briefly. I'd like to kind of pick your brain a little bit because you're spinning a lot of plates at once, as they say,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
competitor,
Of course.
family man,
Yeah.
and obviously, you're the coach and at the
Yeah.
helm of your own gym. So let's talk about how you're balancing all that and how it's working out.
Yeah. My superpower is named Raquel. She she I come in with all these ideas and I want to do this and I want to do that and I go throwing things up in the air and she go catching everything and balancing and being like, okay, got to do this at this time and that time and schedule this for you and that. So if I didn't have Raquel, with my ADHD, it would be really tough to do all of this and being time for everything and get everything organized. But I have Raquel, thankfully, and dude, we work greatly together. Um, and I just don't know other reality. I've been doing full time work ever since I'm like a child. I think I want to say like I was like 15 or so, 14 maybe when I started training full time, where I'm like training in the morning, going to school, coming back from school, teaching kids, training again, maybe doing Muay Thai in the end of the day. So I used to do like so much, even like growing up, and it's just all I always done. I probably
Yeah,
had 1 year or so here in between transition of like when I moved here to Vegas and then leaving the team that I was part of and trying to decide, okay, where am I gonna go next? I didn't want to be like talking behind people's back, so I was like, okay, I'm out. We're good. It is not working out for me. I need to look for something better. So within that time frame, I ended up staying in Vegas because I found training here. At the time, I had good training, and we had the apartment that we had to wait for, the lease to be done. We wanted to move to California pretty bad. Then the Venom training camp gym offer came around, and then we ended up just staying here in Vegas because they were like, oh, you know what? If you didn't get something in California, it would be a small gym. We want to do something big. We have a place here in Vegas. Would you be down to stay? I was like, yeah, I'm down. Well, I already am training well here. So that's kind of the background of how everything kind of worked out, and I ended up like, okay, now I started teaching, but I was supposed to just teach once a day or once or twice, and I don't have to deal with anything else. They have a manager, they have everything. I get paid. I'm gonna get paid well in my head, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
things start coming to fruition, and I'm like, oh shoot, so now we're like on a very like in a minimum salary for like for who you were and what we were trying to offer for the place. I was like, okay, cool, we gotta work our way up. Once the gym makes money, we make money. COVID comes a year later, so we're not making money yet. Then they close for 3 months. We restart on the jiu-jitsu program alone. We lost like 60% of the people. So
Sure.
a lot of people slowly came back. A lot of people are still afraid. So we were like, okay, start now they wanted us to run the whole business. So I got thrown into it, while we were trying to make things happen. They did decided to close, and now I have about 100 people now finally here, and I have to relocate these people. And then we open our place and became, our whole job. But like I said, I have Raquel. Raquel really does take the biggest part of the load. She's the brain behind the whole operation. We always joke that she's the work. She's the. I'm just the talent. I'm just the talent. Yeah, I'm just there for
Dude.
for the smiles, for to be your friend. I'm cool. I'm never charge you. Unfortunately, this is a business. You gotta talk to my wife, but I just work here.
You make her do the dirty work, and you're the
Yeah,
poster boy. I love it.
yeah, I come and I teach. I don't even look at how much money we make. That's the truth. She manages all of that too. So like, she doesn't spend the money either, but at least she gets to have this idea of like, oh, this is my money. Here's all my money. I'm like,
Yeah, dude.
okay, I'm cool. You take care of me. I'm not even stressing. I'm just gonna train, prepare, compete, beat people, try to do better and better, my athlete side while being present as a coach, first and foremost. But yeah, business side and things was mostly Raquel. Now we have a lot of people helping. We have coaches that we hired. We have a front desk, so things are starting to get better. We're freeing up more schedule now. Raquel's finally probably about to start slowing down, and we're gonna focus on building our family. This is like kind of the next step. And then the goal is to break through in MMA. So that's where
Yeah.
life's taking me right now more than ever. I'm like, okay, things are looking well, and I think MMA is gonna work out.
Yeah, it seems like everything's falling into place for you, brother. And
Yeah, man.
I always give people at the end like a minute to do shout outs and stuff, but you're very smart to get the most important shout out of the way. And that's giving a shout out to your wife,
To the wife,
especially when
yeah.
she's the the oil keeping the motor going.
Yeah, bro.
Um,
Yes.
bro, what a blessing, man, honestly, because
Thanks,
it
man.
seems like you're in a really good mental headspace. And obviously, like I said, I've been fanboying on your social media for years, and it's
Thanks,
cool
man.
to see you
Appreciate
in a
you.
really good place right now, with
Thanks, man.
all the opportunities that you
Yeah.
clearly deserve, brother. So you
Thanks,
said
man.
it already, man. Like I remember an interview in the beginning of 2025, or it was like towards the end of 2024. You were like, if 2025 goes well, I'd like to be eyeing the UFC at the end of the year. you mentioned a little hiccup at UFC BJJ, but as a whole, bro,
Yeah.
you go 2-0 in MMA. You finish the year at UFC
Yeah.
BJJ strong with that win over, was it Alan Sanchez?
Yeah.
Um, 2025 went well. You
Went
know,
well.
you
Yeah, it went
you
well. It
you
was
come out the
great.
gates hot here, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
You're in a good place. So let's talk about the
Yeah.
trajectory for 2026.
Yes, sir. So, like I said, I got given that space from the UFC BJJ people, who right now, is who I had to answer to as far as like contract, and they told me, hey, look, we talked to whoever we have to talk to, which is like matchmakers and so from the UFC, and if we have about, I was told like 5, 6 fights, I guess. If I have about 5 to 6 fights, yeah, I can probably break into the contender series even
Mm.
this year. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna try and aim for that because that's what I thought it was, this is my best chance of getting in. It's probably gonna be contender. Now, at the end of the day, if they want to put me in straight to it, I'm also not mad about that. I feel like
Yeah.
the contender series does put a lot of pressure on the athlete to go there and perform. No music. I like it. I'm used to competing in the Apex. I'll be fine. I know that. But it's also like, then you get in through the most basic contract you can get. There's like a lot within that too. I'm like, if I could jump that would be awesome. Now, again, that's me being spoiled in my head and being like, you know what, I think I can do well. Let me have some bangers outside of the UFC for now. If you like it, you give me a shot. Put me straight into the main thing. If not, I'm down to go to contender. So,
Mm.
like I said, because that was what I was told, I'm gonna try and do as many fights as I can right now in the first semester of the year. I'm hoping to do at least three. Being from here to end of May, June. So hopefully I can
Mm.
I can get that done. That's why I'm starting the year so early at January 22nd right now at Tough Enough. Then hopefully I can fit another one in every 2 months. I want to be fighting, and then after that, we'll see what is what looks like what. If it's gonna be contender
Yeah.
series, if I have a shot at the UFC. If I don't too, it's fine. Keep on fighting, keep on chasing, bigger challenges and trying to put on good shows, good performances. So whenever the UFC does give me that call that we're waiting for, then I want to make sure that I'm fully ready and capable and feeling experienced enough, confident enough, which I already do. Like right now, end of the camp is the most confident I'll be, if you talk to me, because I did all the work. I'm training, I'm dieting, everything is going well, smoothly. I feel really good right now, honestly. I feel really good right now. I'm very excited for this fight. Feel like the camp went very well, and I'm just excited to go there and do what I do. Put on a highlight performance if possible. That's what I'm always looking for.
Brother, camp went well. Your hair is on point, brother.
Thanks,
There's,
brother.
I mean, all that's left is to go out there, you
Yes, sir.
make the weight and get the job done. Well, brother, I will be glued to the screen on Thursday night, as I'm sure all the fight fans will. Why don't I give you a moment to give any shout outs or any love before we wrap this up, my man?
Yes, sir. Guys, please tune in. Watch me UFC Fight Pass on Thursday, January 22nd. Please tune in. Um, the event starts around 5. I probably should be going around 7:30ish. Do not miss out. If you enjoy jiu-jitsu, if you enjoy MMA, if you're an MMA fan, jiu-jitsu fan, uh, please come and watch me. I'm sure you're gonna be hooked and you're gonna like what you see. I sure hope so. And I cannot wait to go there and represent to my best capability. So shout out to all my team at Hybrid Jiu-Jitsu, all my guys at Mateus Nakashi's team. Um, and everybody who's been with me for this long supporting me. My wife, of course, like I already talked about, and everybody that is helping me out to make this dream come true. I'm gonna get the job done. Thanks so much for
Amazing.
having me, brother. Appreciate
No,
you.
no, this has
Thank
been
you.
such
Thank
a
you.
blessing.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, dude, this has been great. Like I said, I told you before we went on, I was like a little nervous about messaging you because I was like, man, I don't know if he'll get back to me, but you did, and you were
Oh,
down, and
heck
this
yeah,
was
man.
amazing, bro.
Thank you,
Um,
brother. Thanks for making the time too.
Absolutely. So, fight fans, make sure you tune in this Thursday, January 21st, 22nd. Is it? I can't get my days straight.
January 22nd. Yeah.
22nd. This
Sure.
Thursday, January 22nd, live and exclusively on UFC Fight Pass. As he steps back, Renato Canuto steps back inside a cage that has catapulted so many stars into the UFC. Tough Enough, of course, one of the oldest running promotions. So many stars coming out of that cage, and We just may get to see another highlight reel performance. Maybe something flying. We discussed some flying submissions, bro.
So, flying submission. Yeah, if it's not a knockout, probably a flying submission. That's what I'm aiming for.
Let's do it. Something saucy, no doubt. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for your time, Professor, and we'll be tuned in Thursday night.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.